So we're very happy to welcome you to this Ask Me Anything session with Jordi Fernandez, the CEO of BeneTalk. And we're also joined today by 4 members of the BeneTalk team. You may notice our penguin themed backgrounds, including myself. I'll be acting today in a role of moderator host as well. Unfortunately, Hugo, our Chief Technical Officer, will not be able to join us today. And our Content Manager, Jaclyn, will be joining us a little later on as well. So just so you're aware that that's the situation. And you'll be hearing a nice mix of voices today, including some that stutter, like mine. And we're thrilled to provide a space for these type of conversations and to do our best to support people who stutter all around the world. As you may have seen in the invitation, we'll be discussing BeneTalk, stuttering, of course, and how technology can help address some of the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis. And just a little bit of housekeeping. We request that people keep themselves muted, as is customary. I'm sure you're aware of that by now, but please feel free to have your camera on if you wish. I see that some of you already do. And as I said before, this call is being recorded. And this is an interactive session, so we'd love you to ask us any questions that you may have. And we'd like you to please use the chat box on the right-hand side to pose your questions to us. So you can send them at any point during the call, and we'll do our best to answer them as we work through the session. We'll start with some quick introductions from the team, just so you know who is speaking. And then we'll get on to answering some questions. We've had some, excuse me, we've had some really good ones emailed to us over the last week. So we'll start with them. But again, please add yours to the chat if you would like to. Let me just make sure the people in the waiting room are with us, and then we'll get going with some introductions. So the introductions are important, so you know what kind of expertise we have on the team and the experiences that we have that are helping us with our mission to help other people who stutter. So I think it's only right that we start with Jordi, our CEO. So Jordi, I'll hand over to you. What would you like to say to the people for your little intro?
Hello, everyone. So obviously, my name is Jordi, and as you may know, I am a person who stutter or stammer, and I am the founder of BeneTalk. I was born in Spain, Barcelona. I worked for 15 years doing something completely different as a chartered mechanical engineer, managing multi-billion-dollar deep water projects. But then I decided to quit, and I am here to help other people who stutter like me to live a better life.
Thank you, Jordi. So we'll go now to Dimitri. Dimitri, over to you.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Dimitri. I've been born and raised in Germany, and I've worked in startups for the last 12 years. And I was always very interested in health tech. So before BeneTalk, I worked in startups in the context of hearing aids, as well as in blood testing. And now I'm here. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Dimitri. Anna, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. I joined BeneTalk a long ago, and I am responsible of the daily operations that the company can run remotely. I also study psychology, and I am passionate to work on a therapy that can be affordable for everybody and connected with AI. We will manage to do it. I hope so.
Thank you, Anna. So I'll introduce myself. My name's Ronan. I'm responsible for research at BeneTalk. I'm a person who stammers. I have many years of experience with the stammering Unity, leading support groups and things like that. And I've also conducted research into stammering, particularly around things like anxiety and self-concept, identity, and things like that, as they relate to stammering and communication. And yeah, I mean, this is a job that allows me to really bring all of those things together. So very happy to be here as part of the team as well. And I'll introduce Jaclyn, who is our content manager. She'll be joining us a little later on. So Jaclyn is a speech and language therapist. She has 15 years of experience working as a stammering specialist in the NHS in the UK. And she has a particular focus on supporting families. So not just the person who stammers, but also the people around them. And she's our content manager. So she is responsible for the content that appears in our apps and helps us be sure that everything we're producing and delivering to people is in line with evidence-based practice, which is very important to us. So she'll be joining us a little later on, as I said. And I think that's the intros for now. So we'll jump straight into some questions that have been posed to us over the last week or so. And the first question we're going to start with states, what future plans do you have in mind to help people who stutter or stammer? So quite a broad question, but one that we're going to ask Jordi to have a go at answering. So Jordi, over to you.
So yes, I'm talking on behalf of the company, right? So our mission is to become the gold standard for stuttering therapy, because there is nothing that people agree, basically, of what works or what doesn't. There is a lot of voices on that regard, but the end goal is to help people who stutter and their families to improve the quality of life. So I could say that this mission is a selfish one, because it is my mission. And I grew up with stuttering because no one around me understood stuttering. So what is stuttering and what we should do about it? So my wish is that everyone who wants to understand stuttering and find support in the future, they can get it. So I would like not to suffer. I would like others not to suffer, basically, as I did. And I am happy to see that every day that we are working towards this mission. And of course, I mean, beyond stuttering, our vision is helping everyone find joy in speaking, because we people who stutter, we suffer from many reasons, right? But the fact is that there is many people in the world who also have problems speaking, and they don't find joy in speaking. So, and even more in public speaking. So the vision or long-term vision is not only stuttering, it's everyone helping find joy in speaking.
Thank you, Jordi.
And if everyone want to interrupt me and say something, please do so.
We will. And just for those people who are joining us a little later, just to reiterate that if you do have any questions that you'd like to pose to Jordi or anyone else on the team, then you can put them in the chat. I see that Ritesh has posed a question already, so thank you for that, Ritesh. We will get to your question, hopefully, as we move through the session. We've been joined by Jaclyn now as well. So good to see you here, Jaclyn. We're just getting started with some questions that have been sent in to us over the last week or so. Another question that came in, and Jordi, I'm going to direct this one to you again as well, says, how do you finance the company if Penguin is free? So Penguin is a mobile app. We released, I think about 2 or 3 months ago. It's a free app designed to support families of children who stutter. So, Jordi, if Penguin is free, how do you finance the company?
So we have been very lucky to have the support of the UK, particularly around support of UK R&D grants, and also small angel investors, both in the UK and the US, but mainly in the UK. And yes, and as you say, the Penguin is an app to support people, so children, parents of children who stutter. And we launched this app as an experiment, so that's why it's free. But not always in a startup is wrong, so that was a good thing. So this worked, and we got a lot of positive response from speech therapists, parents, and NHS. I will say that thanks to Ronan and Jaclyn, who were the ones who pushed more this project. So now with everything that we have learned from this app, Penguin, we are launching SuperPenguin, which is, I think that is a very nice name. This is what we think. And for this, we need more funding and more support to build a better and bigger product. So that's why we are launching a crowdfunding campaign for equity base. For those who don't understand this, basically everyone can invest as little as £10 as an investor, and we will use all the resources to be invested on the development of SuperPenguin. So this is an investment, it's not a charity. And of course, the goal is that once we generate enough evidence, this will be paid through public systems and health insurance providers. And yeah, so if you have any questions around that, please send me an email.
Thank you, Jordi. So the next question, we're going to come to the ones in the chat in a second. I just want to make sure we address some of the ones that were emailed to us over the past week or so. And I think this question would be best directed at Jaclyn. And again, it's quite a broad question. So just so you're aware of that, Jaclyn, how to cope with stuttering is the question. I guess, how should one cope with stuttering?
Sorry, folks, I haven't got my title on, but I assume that Ronan's explained that I'm a speech and language therapist. Yeah, that's a biggie. I guess with coping, let's define maybe coping as kind of managing life with a stutter. And how do we assess whether someone is managing life with a stutter? I guess our ethos is, and behind everything that we do here, is to ensure that a person who stammers is saying what they want to say, whether they stammer or not. So that's a measure, really, to see if that is happening. You can have someone who stammers a lot and is coping very well with life, and you can have someone who stammers very little and perhaps is coping less well because they're perhaps hiding it or avoiding situations or changing words. So I guess how to cope. This is, again, underpins what we're doing in terms of working with our parents. We want children to be able to grow up with a stammer, knowing that it's okay to stammer, and for them to cope with whatever life throws at them. And so that's why we are doing our apps towards parents, because they are the most influential people in little people's lives. So it is a great question, actually, because that's what is always in our mind when we're writing our content, about how can we ensure that this feels okay. We know that there's going to be bumps in the road. It's not going to be smooth, and we're not trying to say, okay, accept your stammer, it's fine. What we're saying to parents is it's going to be hard. There are going to be times it's more difficult. Having community, which our apps can provide wonderfully, and also having that sense that you feel confident in being able to help your little one cope. And that's, again, where I'm really plugging the app here, but I believe in it so much. That's where the app comes in, to be able to say, you're in charge of the care here for your little one. So really kind of having that personalization and that empowerment for parents. I think that's what underpins it. And then as it goes through that, the person who stammers has that empowerment and is in charge of their own care. And this is why the kind of digital side of things and the speech therapy side of things marry really well, because both can go hand in hand. So how do you cope? You connect, you communicate, you say what you want to say, even if it's tricky, and you need support to do that.
Thank you, Jaclyn. And going from that really broad question, I guess, and drilling down a bit more into the everyday experience, I guess, of stammering. And that this is a question that Tesh posed in the chat and also emailed to us. So I'm glad that he's here as well. So with problems, as he states, with words starting in vowels, he asked, what techniques should I do to not stutter? Jaclyn, I wonder if, taking it from that broad perspective to this kind of more direct question, if you could offer your insight there as well.
Yeah, again, I'm going to have to speak quite broadly, because it depends from individual to individual. And I guess it's why that technique, it's so hard to answer just on the spot, why that technique is needed. So with some people who stammer, and this might be you, with some people who stammer, the word just doesn't come out. And what I've said is that we want people to say what they want to say, whether they stammer or not. And with some people, and people who stammer will know this all too well, there are words that are an absolute nuisance, that really get in the way and cause a lot of problems. And they can build up, they can become feared, and they can become a bit of a nemesis. And so techniques are useful to be able to take some tension out of the words, to be able to get it out. And those techniques don't necessarily need to make you fluent. There are some, I guess, but I guess where I would come from is, how can we make sure you're saying that word? So things with vowels, they can have quite a hard onset, they can quite easily block in your throat because the vocal cords can really snap together before you say the word. So some of the techniques that can be useful for that is letting out a little bit of air first. So if I was to say the word, I don't know, open, so you have to really it's quite a hard, what we call a hard attack. The vocal cords can really push together on these vowel words, which may be why you find them more difficult. And so just letting a little bit of air out before open, it might not come so clear online there, can just help you flow into a word. And that wouldn't necessarily make you fluent, but it can sometimes be a great starter to get the word out. So it's called like an easy start to a word. Is that?
Thank you, Jaclyn. Yeah, and I think from my perspective anyway, that kind of question also speaks to a broad issue of personalizing support for people. So what some people find challenging, other people won't. And that's something that we really need to keep in mind when we're developing support for people who stammer, that, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I don't know, Jordi, was there anything you wanted to add there?
So yes, well, I would like to join what you just mentioned with the question from Karen regarding how is SuperPenguin, how Penguin is different from SuperPenguin, and I think it's linked with what we were talking now. So Penguin was an experiment, right? It's a simple app. is extremely simple. So it's a 10 days course. So as Ronan said one time, I think the way to think it is like a penguin with asteroids, no? Asteroids, maybe that is the word. But yeah, so within that component, what is different is that, so penguin is one size fits all, and it's addressed for preschool children. So preschool, for parents of preschool children. So this is a goal-based app focusing goals, which the goals, of course, is depending of the person, of in this case the parents, where in which situation are they, in which state of the journey are they, and what is the age of the children too, right? So it's for every moment of life. If I learn something across this life of a person who's stuttering, that this is a journey since childhood until I will die. And yeah, the goal changes for everyone, for parents and children and teens and adults. So the personalization fits here. So we aim to personalize goals to people depending of the situation and the age of the child and everything. So yeah, I mean, if I could add to what Jaclyn said about how to say words, I mean, how not to be stuck with vowels, it all depends of the person. So you get to attach, I mean, my experience, if I have to attachment to one word or to one situation with a feeling, I will start with a lot with that word, with that vowel. So yeah, I think all speech language therapists agree that the way forward is personalization, and we all agree too. And luckily, now there is this big fuss in the internet about the AI and things like that. But in a way, this is what we are working towards too, right? So with thousands of, hopefully millions of users, right? So we will know what works for whom and what is the best approaches to deploy. Therefore, the gold standard thing that I was saying about. So if we have millions of people and we know what works and what doesn't, for everyone, for parents, children, teens, and adults, so we will be able to say, okay, well, this is what it is. This is what we think is the best for you based on that data that we have.
Thank you, Jordi, and Jaclyn too for your response. And I guess kind of in the opposite sense, we had a question asking about the fact that our apps don't have the facility to recognize repetition and blocking and halting when someone stutters. Why is that, Jordi?
Well, that is a good question. It's a dilemma that we had for ages, since this is not a trivial task. I mean, it is easy for companies to detect that this is an event which is not fluent, but it's difficult to detect whether it was stuttering or not. So many people, as Jaclyn said, avoid words or sounds when speaking. Therefore, not stuttering may create more anxiety because you are avoiding words. So I including this, I could say this even to myself, the most useful technique that I learned across my life was to volunteering, stutter in purpose, basically. So stuttering when I don't need to stutter. So I'm stuttering more, and what this means, I am happier, right? So that is a tricky one. And then for children, I don't have any memories of me stuttering at all until I was 10 years old or so. But I have videos that my father was doing, with the old thing, where I was stuttering. So meaning that it was not a problem for me. So I'm not sure why. I mean, if this would be an easy task, we will do it. But having said that, it's still in the roadmap there, because there is some use cases that could be helpful. So, for instance, detecting in children. So, detecting stuttering is not helpful. But if you combine this with assessments, I think that we can know with data and time the progress that a child will have and whether the stuttering will become chronic or not, right? So it's a long-term project. And yeah, so I'm pleased to say that we just won a grant like 2 weeks ago from Innovate UK, one new, to research on that, which is basically to evaluate progress of children and parents over time. It's an R&D project. But yeah, so the bottom line, sorry for the long answer, is that with the limited resources that we have, we can use it for something else. I mean, we can spend our time in more things. And this actually includes or is mainly focused about supporting the journey of a speech language therapist before therapy, during therapy, and after therapy. So before therapy by early support, during therapy is what happened during the therapy sessions out of clinic, and once therapy finished, because we are not going to have Jaclyn services forever, right? So yes, having this ongoing lifelong support. Yeah.
Thank you, Jordi. And I guess related to that, a question from the chat from Hinit. He asks, in addition to or in place of monetary support from investors, is there any possibility of volunteering with BeneTalk, contributing time or volunteering for software development?
100% or 200%. Time is money, right? I mean, it only works in that way. And money is time, so it's both. So yes, I mean, the hardest thing that we do is finding people and finding good people and asking people to work too, right? So everything. Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, please. Well, I have talked with you, Binet, right, by email. But yes, we can talk with this more. In fact, we are putting 4 job descriptions as we talk now. Yeah, so 2 are tech actually. So I will share with you the job descriptions after. Yeah.
Thank you, Jordi, and thank you, Penny, for your question. So I guess moving from the software side of things back to real world situations, we've had a really good question from Nelly in the chat, who's asking about her 6-year-old child in anticipation of a meeting next week with the school Senko. And I want to make sure I kind of get to the gist of your question, Hilly. You provide us some context there that I think we can all see. And Jaclyn, I guess this is another question that we can direct at you. She ends by saying, any advice to help her little girl find her voice and be happy to speak more? She says she tends to use 1 or 2 words at the moment.
Hi, Lily. I'm just having a quick read of your chat. Yeah. Ah, that's interesting. Okie doke. First of all, download Penguin. It's free and will be marvelous for you in terms of your concern and how to support Lily. And so you're meeting with the school Senko, so you can also refer through to speech and language therapy. You don't need to go through school. So you can find the details of your local speech and language therapist, because it sounds like both of you will need some support here. I think one of the things that we highlight in Penguin is for you to be supported so you can support your little one. There is so much in terms of finding the joy in what she's doing already. I would say that would be the first start, to notice what she's doing and to notice her joy, notice what she's interested in, and being with her in the present as much as possible. That will bring you joy and it'll bring her joy. So that connection time is invaluable. Again, we talk about that in the app, so there's more detail about that. I would say with the meeting with school, highlight the impact that it's having on her and you, and see if you can meet with, she'll be probably going into the next class soon after the summer holidays, seeing if you can have a meeting with the class teacher. And also don't underestimate the expertise that you have in your child. You know, we always look externally and there's lots of value in that, but there's so much that you'll be able to say about your daughter, which you know already. And so you can communicate that with the teacher and have a meeting with the teacher, perhaps before the summer holidays, so you can explain your concerns, explain the things that help her. It may be things like she needs a little bit of time to answer, or she doesn't like to put her hand up in class. Can the teacher come to her and ask her one-to-one, or can they do small group work? Or, you know, and you and Lily can talk about this first and see what she comes up with, and see if there's anything that she says, oh, mummy, I find this really difficult, because she'll know herself as well. So giving her that space, don't be afraid to talk to her about stammering. Just say, you know, sometimes it can be tricky to get words out. I kind of get it. You know, she doesn't need to say anything, but your acknowledgement of the stammer might feel like a bit of a relief to her. And then if she does want to talk about it with you, then she can. It's a little bit like if she falls over, or if she gets, you know, she's building something, she kind of knocks it over and she's like, oh, like showing that little bit of frustration. You wouldn't make a big deal out of it, but you'd say, oh, it's sometimes tricky when that happens, eh? And then leave it at that and see what she comes with. So knowing that she's got your support and making that clear to her that it's not a problem, but I can be here to help. I am here to help. Sorry, I'm kind of by your side with this. And then speaking with the school and ensuring that they know things that will make things easier for her talking, and then a referral into speech and language therapy, which you can do yourself, and download Penguin. And also, I think with being able to kind of just see if with the speech and language referral, you can sometimes, you know, don't be afraid to sort of push. I'm saying that from the inside, but kind of say, right, this is having a big impact. So, and I know there are long waiting lists. I get it. There's lots and lots of issues there, but don't be afraid to say the impact that it's having on Lily as well. So yeah, there was lots in there. I hope it's been helpful. Sorry, not to Lily, that's you, to your daughter.
Thank you, Jaclyn. And I hope that's helpful, Lily. I guess I see there that you say that your internet was dropping in and out. Maybe Jaclyn could give a quick overview in the chat at the end of the call or something like that. So that's a really interesting question about kind of the beginning of the school situation and starting out with these kind of challenging situations. And we've had a question about how those situations can continue to be challenging, I guess, through into adulthood and in employment as well. And Jordi, I think you'd be the best person to answer this one. There's a question that says, how does one manage to stick in a business that requires frequent engagement with clients, colleagues, and managers? So I understand that as, you know, frequent engagement with quite challenging speaking situations.
So yes, I mean, it's very easy for me to say that it's okay and don't worry about this, because all the work, yeah, I mean, it's very easy for me to say that it's fine because everything that I do is about stuttering. So everyone that I talk to expect to know something about stuttering or they expect me to stutter. So yes, it's very easy for me to say that, right? So maybe I am not the right person to say this at the current moment of life. But I had a previous life, right? So where I was designing subsea deep water projects for the oil and gas, different world. But I had to deal with clients, managers, and colleagues. So the truth is, it is a very hard thing to do, and it's a lifelong journey. I mean, thinking back, I think I don't know if I struggle this. I think I struggle the same even in the school. I think from 12 years onwards. I mean, I think that from the 12 to 30, it was the worst time. First with the school, and then with the work. So I will say that it's not just client colleagues and managers, it's just, school too. But one of my best coping mechanisms I used and I still use, and hopefully some of people know this. So before any presentation or before I know everyone, I say, hello, my name is Jordi. I am a person who stutters. So bear with me if things will take a little longer. Most of the time, people actually ignore you. I mean, I noticed that people don't even care about your problems because it's true. I mean, people have their own things, so they think, oh, it's okay, fine. And it's okay. But the thing is, it's very useful. I think it's very powerful because the worst thing that we have, as you may all know, is that when you are in speaking and you you have a block, that moment that happens in 1 second, and you think, oh, so you just met someone, you didn't say anything to that person, and then you say, oh no, I'm blocked. He's looking at me. I am looking at him. What is thinking about me and what I was talking about? So all of these moments happen at the moment. But if you tell to everyone that you're a person who stutters, I mean, as soon as possible. As soon as you meet the person, the first thing to say that is you're a person who started. Then you know that he knew that you told him, and now it's not a weird thing because most of us we are fluent, right, in the world, and suddenly we block, and the person say, "Oh shit!" So I mean, sorry for the word here now, but actually it was Scott Yaros is a researcher in speech therapy, maybe you know. He's from US. He called it the oh shit moment. That is that moment that you know that this is going to happen, and it's actually start to stutter. So I mean, it's not too bad to say that word, but yeah. So what I meant is that thing is the best advice that I can say to tell to everyone, even though it's hard to introduce yourself like this, but once it becomes a habit, it's fine. And then, yes, on a similar topic about techniques, I will say that, as I said before, to me, the stuttering in purpose, right, is actually very useful. So the best combo is to say, I am a person who stutters. If you can wait for me a bit longer, right? So you just introduce yourself and you stutter. That's it. And then no problems. In fact, I don't think it's even possible to stutter in purpose. So if anyone will tell me that that you stutter in purpose, I will not believe it even because it's so hard to. So when you want to stutter, you cannot do it in purpose. I mean, it's just when you avoid it, right? It's a paradox. Yeah.
Thank you, Jordi. And yeah, I would echo what you say about, if you're able to kind of frequently engage with those situations, they do become a bit easier over time. I think this is quite a scary situation that we're in now, but I've done a few of these already and, it makes it easier for sure.
But also, we all know that you started, right? So it's a bit of no pressure here.
So moving on to the next question that we received this week, and this is about kind of specific ways of addressing stuttering, I guess, or supporting people who stutter. There's a question here that says, have you heard of the Starfish project? I went on the course back in 2002 and found it very beneficial. Jordi, have you heard of the Starfish project?
Yeah, in fact, I attended to a program in the UK that was very, very similar to the Starfish project. And in my opinion, it was very useful because of the community. So we grow up by being the only person around us that has stuttering. And this is very hard to accept, right? If you're alone, we just copy people. And if everyone say, no, it's okay to accept, no, accept. But if I am the only one, right? So it's extremely hard. So that's why the community is a key part of any support in any condition, right? Not just even stuttering, I think in anything. So yes, and the community is key to help on this, and we know that the human connection is key, right? To build any technology. So we believe for our solution to work, it has to have the human part, and this comes in three parts, basically, in three areas. One is connection to a speech and language therapist. So speaking with speech language therapists in the UK, speech pathologists in the US. I don't know if there is more words, but anyone who will support basically the support of the condition with the knowledge. Connection to family members. That is the second one. To me is key. It's very important that not just the parents, right? The whole family as a whole, you need to understand. And even teachers, basically everyone around the child who spend more than 10 hours a week. And then connection to, as I say, to the community as a member. So me as a person who stutter will be another people who stutter, but parents too, right? So parents doesn't know other people who stutter. I mean, I don't think my parents knew anyone else. I don't think so. So yes. What was the question? Right. The question was about the Starfish, right? So my point is the community is a big thing, and yes, the human. Yeah. So I think it's a very good program because of the human support. Yeah.
Sure, I agree with that. The community for me has been a vital part of my feeling more comfortable with my own voice, I think, and sharing that with others as well.
I mean, I think with the community, you all know, it has been very hard. We did many experiments to make this work, and it's very, very hard because also people are running away from the community depending on your journey, and I was one of them. In fact, I used to say that there is three types of people: people who stutter, fluent people, and me. So I didn't want to say that I was a person who stuttered. Whenever I saw someone stuttering, I changed my street. So my point is that, and actually, in fact, I have a user who I spoke with him, and he said that when he joined the community of the app and he saw some people talking, oh my God, he got a bit scared. So yeah, so it's a journey, right? It's a journey. So when I was in this program, like the Starfish one, they put me in a room with 100 people, the same like me. If they would have told me that 100 people was going to be in that room, I wouldn't have gone to that room. So my point is, it's a journey, and yeah, but it's key. Yeah.
Thank you, Jordi. I'm conscious of the time, and I wonder if, as we're approaching the end of the call, it would be good to take things right back to the beginning. And we're interested also to hear, Jordi, about the inspiration behind why you started the company in the first place. What was that initial impetus that made you take that step and quit your job and go all in on this?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess that. Well, this is something that I say in this call. I don't tell this to my wife, but because always my wife said, Jordi, why you change your job? You know, you were like so good with your thing, right? But yeah, so always I had the feeling that I had to do. Yeah, I mean, I mean, it was okay, but I didn't feel like it was fulfilling me. But yeah, so long story short, I went to this program, the one that I mentioned, and it forced me to speak with 100 people a week. So I avoided situations. I had a lot of anxiety, and of course, I had meetings. I have been a person that I have been always pushing, but yes, pushing doesn't mean that I didn't have the stress. So it was like a constant pressure. But this program changed my life because they put me in front of all these people that I just mentioned, and they give me like 3 aha moments, right? Aha moments that changed my life. One was that it taught me a set of tools that it could, in a way that I could feel in control of my stuttering. Until that point, stuttering had control of me. It was like it was an eye opener. But this is very simple thing. So, for instance, pausing and speaking slower and not avoiding situations, those are things that you have control with, right? And I feel like I didn't have control of that. So just the single fact that you have a simple tools like stuttering in purpose, something like this changed my world in one aspect. The other one is that I had the community, as I mentioned, and the community then helped me to speak with 100 people in the street every day. And I realized that no one cared. No one cared. No one cared about the stuttering. No one cared about my stuttering. I mean, it was me who think that they care too much and this type of thing. But of course, you don't know this until you do it, right? Anyway, they were simple tools. And I thought, okay, well, let's move on. And then I started applying for grants. And once we got a few grants, then I decided to quit. And that's why I'm saying that my wife still is upset about me about that, but I think it's the best decision that I took. And then we actually built a solution because the startup world, they say that you are in point A to point B, right? And you want to go in this direction, but it doesn't go like that. So we thought of building a hardware device to help to be more aware, like a small watch of you speaking during the day to give you feedback. But in a hardware, it was very hard. COVID kicked in, so we decided to move and do software, and then we focus in the bigger people in the world, right? So, which is chronic stuttering. I have even we had one software engineer who said that he knew that he had the stutter when he saw the job description. He was from Brazil. My point is that in many places in the world, they don't know what is this. Right? Even me, they would tell me as a kid, don't go fast, take your time and things like that. So my point is that there is a lot of unknown. Even nowadays, I think, in many places, we still don't know what is happening. So yeah, that was what we built. But then we realized as we go that if we go to the source of the problem, which is actually children and parents, we can actually help a lot on that regard. And it was always in front of my face because my parents didn't know what to do. My family didn't know what to do. I always make a joke of this, but I had an aunt who was horrible. I mean, every time that I saw her, she was like, Jordi, speak quickly, come on, say this. And I still have traumas, no, as a child, whenever I saw the aunt, but she didn't know. I mean, it was not her fault. And also the teachers, right? So I don't know how many people who started are in the school, but when you're in class and you're counting the tables that they are going to go and speak with you, that is horrible. And I don't think that the teachers knew that. I don't know. So my point is that, yeah, so we still are doing the same mission. We still are doing the same thing, but we decided to focus in one thing first now, then second, and now we decided to move and help parents and children. It doesn't mean that we are not doing everything, right? But if we start with the source, right, is when the stuttering happens. Yeah. Don't know if this answers the question.
Yes, I think so. And before we bring things to a close as well, I think it's good to look to the future as well and how things might develop. And we mentioned briefly the crowdfunding campaign that we'll be launching at the end of July. But I think it'd be good, Dimitri, if we hand over to you and get a bit more insight into how that will work and how that looks.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we have a pre-registration page live on a website called Stutters, very known equity crowdfunding website in the UK. And so we will send around the link after this if anyone is interested. And as Jordi said, initially, you can invest as little as £10. We will be going live in the end of July, but we'll be happy to address any conversations beforehand. And there will be a lot of stuff happening on the back of the campaign. So we're actually planning to go to the US and approach private clinics there as well as market the app to people who, to parents basically in the US. So that's all there's at the moment, and the campaign is in its pre-launch stage, so you're still in time. And very happy to talk to you.
Can I add a couple of things? So on top of what Dimitri said, for the UK people, which I don't know how many UK people are in this call too, I don't know. But for UK people, basically there is so this is the UK give 30% tax back for the investment, any investment that people will put. And so this is one request that we will actually send this email. And also I would like to finish with Binet have asked about about software development and things like this. So we have 4 positions, and I would like to mention this in case that you know someone. But so 2 are tech, which I will share later. But one is for a US speech and language therapist. Sorry, Karen, you say something? Okay, I don't know. So one is for a US speech and language therapist. I mean, we know that we have to use our network to find a speech language therapist in the US, but it's really harder than I thought. So anyway, so if you have any connection with a speech therapist in the US, and so just let us know.
Thank you, Jordi. And thank you all for joining us this evening. I think that if there's no more questions in the chat, we're 1 minute to 6 here in the UK. So I don't want to keep anyone away from any of their evening plans or afternoon plans in other parts of the world, perhaps, that we're being joined by. But thank you so much for your time today and your questions. If anything else comes to mind, we'll be happy to receive any emails from you, and happy to correspond with any of you as well moving forward. As Jaclyn has said a number of times, Penguin, our app, is on the app stores. You can find it for free if you type Penguin stammering support. You'll have no problem finding it. And our original app as well that we built, BeneTalk, is out there as well on the app stores too. So thank you again for your time, and we'll be happy to speak again with you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.